Hi, I'm Mrs. Danesghar. I am a math teacher here at Ocean Township High School, and I wanted to thank Mrs. DeMuro for having me for Mentor Monday. I have been a teacher here since 2018, and I started my teaching career in 2015. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I ended up here, a little bit about my life, about how I am the person that I am today, and I hope you enjoy. So I was born and raised in the state of Delaware. My parents are still married, going on 40 some years now, and I have a sister. And we were very close, grew up in a very conservative Christian home, and really spent a lot of time with my church family and all of that growing up. What I'm going to focus on today is 3 events in my life that really altered the course of who I am and how I got to where I am today. So growing up in the church, you experience a lot of giving, but you also experience a lot of loss. There's a lot of the older generation there. So I grew up knowing what a funeral was. I lost my grandparents pretty early on from my mom's side. I lost some family members, but just people who pass away from sickness or pass away from old age. So loss was not something that was new to me. Growing up, I was a smart kid. I was the nice kid. So I had a lot of friends, but one of the things I struggled with was figuring out where I belonged. I never really felt like I belonged in anything. I didn't have a lot of close girlfriends. I was always just part of a group. So when I was a sophomore in high school, it was the weekend of homecoming, and I was driving to get my nails done and came across a car accident and realized very early on that it was a red Mustang, which was the car that one of my good friends, Rachel, had just gotten for her birthday. So my mom dropped me off at my nail appointment, and she went out to check to make sure everything was okay. And when she didn't come back, I knew. And what had happened in that car accident was my friend Rachel was instantly killed when an SUV landed on top of the driver's side of the car. And a good friend of mine, Dustin, was critically injured. He's okay now. But losing someone who was my age at that part of my life, where I didn't really feel like I belonged, was terrifying. It also created a group of friends that I'm still friends with today. So as much as the loss of Rachel was bittersweet, and obviously we would take it back, it was a very eye-opening experience to me that opened my eyes to the fact that we're not immortal. And, loss can happen not just in places where you expect it. So I became very close with my high school friends. We all kind of came together as much more of a cohesive community at that point. And it really changed the course of my thinking. It opened my eyes to that the world wasn't as perfect as I thought it was, because I really had been growing up in a bubble of safety and protectiveness and privilege. And that felt like it was taken away from me a little bit. At that time, I started dating my high school sweetheart. It was a wonderful couple of years, and he was a huge part of my life. We were on and off a lot. Once I went to college, I loved college. We broke up for my freshman year, which was a fun time to be single, but got back together. So we got together when we were about 16 years old, when I learned what it meant to be part of a friend family and not just a family or a church family, and continued dating until we were 25 years old. And this leads to the second part of my life that kind of changed the path of how I became who I am today. So we were dating, things were fine, and then things weren't fine. And I knew something was going on. And around the 8th or 9th year of us dating, when we were 25 years old, I found out that not just I found out, but we had a conversation where he had realized that he was hiding a part of himself that he didn't know. And he told me that he was gay. So after a very long time with someone whom I loved, not just as a friend, but as something who was supposed to be my future, those words really shut my world down, because everything that I had planned for myself at the age of 25, I lost it in that moment. I was fearful that I was losing my best friend. I knew that I was losing the love of my life. I immediately lost trust in people. But one of the things that happened at that moment was I found a moment in time where I was proud of myself, which wasn't really something that I felt accomplished in. I had done a lot of things in my life. I had gotten good grades. I'd gotten a scholarship to college. I had been a performer and gotten roles and solos, but there was never really a pride in myself. I always thought that I was never the best at anything. I was never better than others. I always felt like things were just given to me because they were supposed to be, and that maybe I wasn't deserving of it. But in the moment that he told me that he was gay and he was scared, I knew that it wasn't my story to tell at that moment. So him and I remained together for about 6 months as we weren't ready to let go of that connection that we had. And I found solace in knowing that I was his support system. And when it was time to let each other go, he wasn't ready to tell anyone else. So I harbored his secret because it was his story to tell. And in that moment, I lost a lot of friends because as relationships end, a lot of people have to pick sides. And a lot of people picked his side just because a lot of our friends group was guys. So they kind of went with the guy. So that was a big loss for me. I lost my best friend. I lost the love of my life. I lost the future I had planned for myself. I lost my friend group. I lost a lot there. But I also gained a lot. And part of what I gained was my eyes being open to the struggles that people go through that I might not have on my own as someone who grew up in a very safe and privileged community. I realized a few years later when I was on a missions trip to Africa with my church, when I was asked whether I thought that homosexuality was okay, it was my time to be able to stand up and say that the love of my life had come out as gay. And the day before he told me, he was the same lovable human being, kind, patient, strong, as he was the day after he told me. And to consider that to be worse than what other people were doing was just not something I could comprehend. So I was able to start seeing a passion that I had for just speaking peace to people who might not have the privilege that I did growing up. So personally, that was a very hard struggle of mine. About 3 months after him and I broke up, I met my husband. I was not looking for a relationship, but found it. And luckily, he was only going to be in town for 6 weeks. So I looked at him as my rebound relationship, and then he could go away and I could move on with my life. So I was kind of starting a brand new path. Like I said, I felt very lost again. And then met the man who ended up becoming my husband, who became my husband. He has been such a huge factor in my life. He is a professor at Monmouth University. He teaches biology. His name is Ped. And within the first month of us knowing each other, we knew that there was something different there. But I was very hesitant because by this point, over the past 2 decades, I had dealt with a lot of loss, like I said, and I dealt with a lot of trust issues. I didn't trust people who were driving, that they wouldn't kill people I loved. I didn't trust people who were telling me that they loved me because I thought there might be something else underneath of it. I didn't believe in myself anymore. I didn't trust that people were giving me compliments because they believed them, they were just trying to be nice. So I had a lot of self-doubt. And my husband, my boyfriend at the time, kind of helped me come out of that. But also he moved away. So I was able to, in my 30s, to realize that, in my 20s, to be able to realize that I could be in a relationship, but I had to make something of myself. So I started working at a bank and moved up the corporate ladder very fast and really loved what I was doing. That's a whole other conversation in terms of my career path to becoming a teacher. But I don't want to forego the third event that changed the path of my life. So at this point, at 16, life changed. Then at 25, life changed. And then I had my son, Oliver, when I was 32 years old. And 3 years later, I had my son, Phoenix, and I became a mom. And it was the most amazing thing in the world. And then in 2019, when my son was 4, he was diagnosed with cancer. And my life changed again because was I going to experience that loss again? Would it never stop? So over the next 2 years, we dealt with him having cancer. I'm happy to say he's completely free and clear now. He had his last chemo treatment in 2021, thriving 9-year-old, almost 10. He'll be going into 5th grade at the middle school for the 2025 school year. But again, just another time frame that made my faith falter a little bit. My faith in myself, my faith in God, my faith in the people around me, my faith in science, my faith in everything. But I came out of it. And I guess I say all of these things with the idea that the circumstances that you're in is not always going to be easy. And life is not always going to be easy. And some of you are going to have a much harder life than other people. And that's not fair. But it's how you come out of it and the people that you surround yourself with that are going to support you when you fall, that is going to make your life be as best as it could be. Because we all go through things, and we've all had things that change the course of our path over time. I had people around me who loved me. Even when I questioned their love, they didn't go away. I had a faith in God that still remains strong. My faith in religion may have changed a little bit. My faith in God has not. And I'm proud to say I'm stronger than I've ever been because I understand what it means to have a passion now. And it took me a very long time to get there. But happiness and sadness are overrated. They're fleeting. They can happen every second, every minute, every hour, every year. My family doesn't talk about the year 2007. It was awful for everybody. But things can get better. You just have to keep striving to find the good in things. So am I happy all the time? No. I had a really bad year this year. And I'm struggling even now. But the underlying thing that I rely on is the joy in my life, the things that bring me joy. My friends who work here, my family, Whether they're healthy or not, we're strong because we work to make it strong. And there's just a lot that you can hold on to make sure that that underlying labor of life can be built on joy, even in the hardest times. So that's how I ended up who I am today. Those three major things, they may have been huge losses and pain at the time, but they directed me into being someone who has a passion for life, who has a passion for the people around me, who is able to find joy in the darkest times because you have to keep going. And I just encourage you that as life goes on and you move outside of high school, and if you go to college or go into the workforce, that even in the darkest of times, if you can't find a light, pull the people who love you in closer so that they can be the light for you. That's my personal life. I hope to share my professional life with you if I ever have you in the classroom, and tell you how I got to be here as a teacher. This was not my final plan. I've had a lot of jobs leading up to this, but I do feel like I finally found where I'm meant to be. I love teaching. I love my students. And I love OTHS. So thank you for your time.
Oh, good. Thank you. Okay, let's see. How long do you think that was?
20 minutes?